The views, information, and opinions expressed during the following program are solely those of the individuals involved and do not necessarily represent the views of Access Communications, its representatives, or its employees.
Welcome to Planting Seeds, Philanthropy in Saskatchewan, a show where we aim to connect you to the community impact that's being powered by donors and charities across the prairies. I'm your host, Victor, with the South Sask Community Foundation, and I hope you enjoy the show. Thanks for joining us today. I'm here with a special guest, Greg Ottenbreit, who's here to actually tell us a bit about a really special fundraiser called the Greg Ottenbreit Close Cuts for Cancer that's been going on for quite a few years. And just a little bit of background about this. Greg and I met, I want to say a couple months ago, and I heard this story, and as soon as I heard it, immediately I just thought, like, this needs to be an episode of the show. And luckily, Greg, within one text, just said, yes, I'll do what you need. And here we are today. So thanks a lot, Greg, for being willing to be on the show and to share your story. And I guess without further ado, can you let maybe the audience know a little bit about yourself, about the background of Close Cuts?
Sure. Well, my wife and I, we've been married since 1986. We were high school sweethearts. Mm-hmm. And I know her dream was always to become a mother. And so we started having our family, I guess by today's standards, fairly young. Mm-hmm. Our first daughter, Caitlin, was born in 1988. Our daughter, Rayanne, was born in 1990. And then we had Braden in 1994. So, you know, I think she would describe it as our perfect little family type of thing. Mm-hmm. And, you know, pretty normal existence. We had a company in Yorkton we're working at and building our family and community involved in a lot of different areas. I was in the Kinsman at the time as well, and a few different organizations involved with the Chamber of Commerce and other organizations in the city. And it just so happened in 1998 and kind of around in 1998 that, you know, there's something that we noticed was a little bit off with Braden. He had a bit of a different gait, a little bit of a different walk. And so we're dealing with that as an orthopedic type of a case, which is what it seemed to be. Mm-hmm. And then we have a bi-level house, and I was up in the top level, and Braden was sitting at the bottom of the stairs one day, and I called to him, and instead of turning, looking up, he kind of tilted his head, and he couldn't re-bend his neck, and that's kind of odd. So I went down, I'm talking to him, and I was holding his shoulders, and I asked him to move around. He couldn't really move his neck very well. Mm-hmm. So we started pursuing, you know, there must be something more going on here. And we had a great doctor now in Yorkton, our pediatrician, Dr. Brian Data, was very intent on finding out what was wrong. Probably had some suspicions that there was a tumor somewhere, maybe in his brain. It ended up that he got diagnosed with ganglioneuroblastoma. So he had a tumor in his spinal cord from C7 to T8. So middle of his neck to probably between his shoulder blades type of thing. So quite a substantial tumor for him at the time. Was, you know, three and a half years old. Yeah. So we pursued treatment in the Royal University Hospital through the cancer clinic there, through pediatric oncology, and ended up he had a 14-hour surgery that basically dismantled his vertebrae to get at his spinal cord. And Dr. Griebel was an amazing surgeon. Wasn't known whether he would come out, how he would come out of it, if he would come out of it, or if he'd even have ability to move. But so he had quite a few people on when he came out of his surgery, quite a few support professionals. And he came out kicking and screaming, and he's worried about, you know, going to the bathroom type of thing. So he came out, he went through that very well. We got into the chemotherapy part of his treatment. And at that point, we knew he started losing his hair, and we knew he would lose his hair. Mm-hmm. So I thought, just to make him more comfortable, I would shave my head as well. Mm-hmm. So, and I was at the Kinsman at the time, as I was saying. His uncle, my brother Grant, said he would do it, and we had a friend, Dale Skabinski, that worked with us as well. He said he would. So, and his godfather, Uncle Gary Landstad, type of thing. So we ended up the first year on the suggestion of one of the members of the Kinsman Club. You know, if you're going to do this, you know, shave your heads, why don't you do a bit of a fundraiser? So we tied in with a cancer agency at the time to do a bit of a fundraiser. We had 14 friends and family, all males that year, shaved our heads. Braden was a little bit too ill to take part. But we ended up raising $14,000, partnered with the Parkland Mall in Yorkton, gave us a huge venue right in the hallway. And so it was quite a big event. People knew about Braden's story, so we had quite a good turnout and raised some decent money. The next year, he was still in his treatment. He was doing a little bit better, so he took part in that second year. And we raised about $26,000 with 26 participants. And now Braden's mom, Leone, she shaved her head. Our daughter, Rand, shaved her head. So we had some female participation. We had some children take part, raised about $26,000. And then we're just kind of getting ready to go the third year. And then Braden unfortunately passed away February 11th of 2000. So we thought, well, this is the end of our fundraiser. We're doing it kind of emotionally support him and raise some funds. Yeah. And on the suggestion of some friends, you should just do it one more time in his memory. So that was the start of for all intents and purposes, the memorial Braden Ottenbreit Close Cuts for Cancer. Yeah. We thought one more year in his memory, and long story short, that's 24 times ago. So we've done that fundraiser 26 years in a row. Predominantly, the money we raise at the Head Shave fundraiser goes for research. Yeah. And we'll do other barbecues and other kind of ancillary events that raise fairly significant funds. So we partner with a lot of different organizations for local initiatives, and that'll go, if there's any things in the local area through the Health Foundation, we'll partner with them. We're with palliative care, community oncology, things like that. Some things through RUH, Camp Circle of Friends, which I know Access is very tied to. We've supported that in the past. And a lot of different initiatives to support cancer patients and their families. Yeah. And it's been an interesting 26 years, something we thought was a short-term fundraiser, but it's gained a lot of momentum over the years. It's gained a lot of attention, and it's raised significant funds. At this point, I think we've raised about $1 million for research and local initiatives. So it's an interesting story. It's touching to a lot of people. Yeah. For us, it's about Braden, but so many people have become involved over the years now because so many different people get touched by cancer. They want to do something, get involved. So I think that's why it's been a fairly successful event over the last 26 years. Yeah,
I mean, that story, even as you said it, like my heart kind of like sunk a little bit just thinking about that. Like I've got 2 young kids too. Like my oldest is 5 and my youngest is about 9 months. So just thinking, I remember the first time I ever had to take our oldest to the hospital and something was wrong. And it was something that was very minor, but just that feeling of like, is my kid gonna be okay is so tough that I cannot imagine just that process of going through this. And it's pretty incredible to hear, I guess, like the support and the way that you supported and walked the journey with him is really powerful. And yeah, it's to me, it's really inspiring to hear that whole like, well, we're gonna try this once. And then what did you say, 26 years later?
26
is that
times
right?
we've done this,
and you're still doing it. And it really is, well, it's really created a legacy, right? Which our community foundation, that's what we're all about, is like, how can we make something that lasts generations? How can this live on really forever? And to me, it's just really inspiring that you've been able to take this little project that was so personal and to turn it into something really big. And one thing I wanted to maybe give a little bit of clarity on is, you had mentioned this started in Yorkton, which is where your family is from, is that correct? And can you tell us a bit about how that's expanded over the years and maybe what that expansion has looked like as you've reached more parts of the province?
Yeah, well, I mean, so many people have been touched in different ways, and whether family members or friends, we'll get participants, for example. We've had participants from as far away as, Florida and Minnesota because of family connections. Donators from almost all over the world. But throughout the province anyway, there's been a whole bunch of different initiatives. Quite often, what started out as a local event, just one day, last Saturday in May at the Parkland Mall in Yorkton. Now we'll quite often do other events like remote shaves. We just did one about a month and a half ago here in Regina. A local gentleman shaved his big biker beard off and raised significant dollars. Or it's pretty widespread. A lot of people would know the name Quick Dick McDick or Dixon DeLorme. He's become a bit of a friend. And last year, on our 25th anniversary, he said he would shave even his beard if the money was raised in order to shave his beard. And he raised $60,000 province-wide on his own. He's got quite a following. And this year, it was interesting. When that was all going last year, former Premier Wall is still a pretty good friend of mine, and he called me up in May and he says, Greg, a group of individuals, philanthropists in the province over the years have built a number of different cars for a fundraiser. And we've got one that needs a home. It was started in roughly 2015, the project as it was, but it's just recently completed. It needs a home. Yeah. Would you only own like this car? And I said, absolutely. So we kind of chirped each other a bit because he's a Dodge guy and I'm a Chevy guy, but it's 1970, what would be called a Resto Mod Charge. It's all brand new, high performance Mopar, modern Mopar underneath the skin, but on the outside it's an old muscle car. And so the group made up of Rolco Radio, Night Auto Group, Original 16, Great Western Brewers, Rhoda Construction, Royal Bank of Canada, and Flying W Consulting is Brad Wall's consulting company, offered us the car. We didn't want to do, all the other projects they've done have gone down to Barrett Jackson and auctioned, like a one-time auction type of thing. And my initial response was, you know, I'd like to do something more community-oriented, more accessible by the common car freak in Saskatchewan type of thing. So we went down the road of maybe doing a charity raffle. We do so much work with the Cancer Foundation of Saskatchewan, which is kind of a fundraising arm of the Saskatchewan Cancer Agency. And we work very in depth with them. We've grown a great relationship and they do great work. It all stays right here in the province. So what I said to him was I would rather do a charity raffle and partner with them if it was okay. So everybody agreed. We ended up developing the initiative. So we partnered with the Cancer Foundation of Saskatchewan. And over the summer months, right to August 20th, we're taking the car around to different car shows, selling raffle tickets on it. And August 20th in Saskatoon at the Cruise Weekend, it'll get awarded to a new owner. And it'll be interesting to see who gets it. But I think it's going to raise significant funds for the foundation, supporting cancer patients and cancer services in the province.
Yeah, it's incredible. And it's just incredible like how many people you even just mentioned you've really brought along on the journey. And I guess maybe one of my questions is because one of the reasons I wanted to talk to you too is to hear your story, and also, you know, we've got a captive audience watching, we've got people, everybody cares deeply about something, but then to actually move on it and create something with momentum and engage people, I think that's some of the things that not everybody, I guess, knows how, and I don't even know if it's that you know how, but like you've got that personality where it's like, it's clear that when you want to get something done, it's like you go and get it. So do you have maybe any advice for people that are you know, thinking about ways to, whether it be honor a loved one or really partake in the community in something that they really care about?
Well, you have to have a passion for what you're doing. And I mean, anybody that's got an ill family member, child, or, you know, unfortunately somebody that might have passed away due to a certain, you know, illness or circumstance usually has a passion for that area. Leon would probably be the first one to say that this is successful in spite of us, not because of us sometimes. But honestly, over those 26 years, I can't remember saying no to anything. You know, somebody would come with a new initiative, a new idea, something even out of our comfort zone, out of our wheelhouse. We'd say, yeah, partner up, get people that are willing to help out. Try it. And it's just amazing how many people get involved, ask for help, ask for volunteers. Sometimes it's a bit tough, but just you know, take on whatever initiative that comes our way or your way. And sometimes it's, you know, kind of a one-time thing. Sometimes it's a longer-term thing. But it's just, you know, just by, I guess, osmosis. It kind of, as you're going through the process, different things come and go. And if you're willing to pursue it every year, you know, it kind of metamorphosizes into something that can last a long time. And you know, it does help a lot of people. But yeah, a lot of good people have been around us over the years. And unfortunately, because, you know, different people get diagnosed with cancer every year, people don't know what to do, but they want to do something. So whether it's participate, whether it's donate, whether it's offer to do some kind of a fundraiser, and it just kind of grows a life and a personality of its own.
So how many people would you say are involved in, like, I guess I want to say on a given year, but clearly this has grown over the years. Like, let's say the first few years you were doing this, like how many people would have been involved in the planning and kind of organizing of everything, and how many people are involved now?
You know, for the most part, Leon is the general. Like, she does so much of the work, and I help as much as possible. Our daughters will help to an extent. And then there's a handful of family members and friends that have been involved over the years. So number-wise, probably about, you know, 6 to 10 that's kind of involved on the actual event day. Throughout the different events, different people are involved in different events. So it's kind of hard to put a number on that, but I'd say, you know, a couple dozen probably through the year. And then now, like with the foundation that we're involved with, the Saskatchewan Cancer Foundation of Saskatchewan, you know, there's up to maybe half a dozen people working out of that. It's not a huge foundation, but you know, a lot of people working very hard to put on like the event we're doing right now with the charity charger and others. So it doesn't take a lot, but it just takes a little, everybody doing a little bit, and you can accomplish quite a bit.
I think that's the main thing, is sometimes when you think about doing something yourself, it can be really daunting. And to your note, it's like you don't have to do everything on your own. If anything, you probably shouldn't.
You know, unfortunately, you kind of do that sometimes. You maybe don't ask for enough help, but you know, by the grace of God, every year it comes together. It's pretty amazing, and yeah, I'm interested to see where it goes from here. I often said if it was only me raising $1,000, and fair enough, I'd probably still do it. But we fluctuated everywhere from, like, this year we had about, in the end now, we've had a few remote shaves, probably 15 or 18 people that, and raised about $15,000, $18,000. Last year we had, you know, maybe a few more, but raised about $75,000. The year Braden passed away in 2000, we had 125 people shaved for about $65,000. So. You know, it is money that really is, I think, well raised, well spent, and it's going to a pretty worthwhile cause. And when you look at some of the advances that are being made in research and patient support as well, but research, and specifically right here in Saskatchewan, surprises some people, but the University of Saskatchewan, Royal University Hospital, the cancer agency here does some significant work in making some great headway in cancer care and cancer treatment.
Yeah, that hospital does some amazing work. I did some work with them a few years ago, actually, and I was really astounded at just the technology that they have and the technology they were seeking to get. And you can't get service like that anywhere else in this province. Yeah, no, it's top notch. I mean, you hear criticisms of the healthcare system from time to time, but you know, I've never met anybody yet that has, you know, once they've been diagnosed and gotten into the cancer agency and received treatment, that don't have, you know, great things to say about them. Another thing that we fund through the cancer agency is the Cancer Patient Lodge. Will cover, you know, stays for patients from a 100-kilometer radius of Yorkton for going there. We've developed a great partnership with the Ronald McDonald House, which some people don't really see it as a local initiative, but for us it is, because it's not Saskatoon people going there, it's you know, Yorkton area people and others that go there. So you know, we'll do some funding through there as well. But anywhere there's a need, we'll try and help out where we can. Yeah, that's absolutely, I never thought about that with the Ronald McDonald House, but you are right, it really isn't like it's in Saskatoon, but it really is a provincial service. And out of province, I guess, but yeah, everyone I know, like, again, unfortunately, I've known some people who've had to use it as well, and none of them are from Saskatoon, but all of them have had like a stable place to stay as a result of it, and just somewhere to really focus in on what's important at the time. Like, we've developed some great partnerships, especially on the local level, like Ron Caban, he's got Yorkton Hyundai in Yorkton, he's always been a great supporter. He's raised, this year he'll probably hit $100,000 that he's raised in conjunction with us over the last 8 years. And a number of years back, it came to our attention that the Ronald McDonald House in Saskatoon was in need of a shuttle vehicle. And a bit of a different plan, a plan that they had set up, that it kind of went by the wayside. So we mentioned to Ron, maybe, you know, he could do something on the national stage, and it wasn't really working out. And he said, you know what, I'm just going to do this myself. So he ended up, he retrofitted and got a very new Dodge Caravan ready, labeled it up for them and all that. And then Tammy and the group from the Ronald McDonald House Saskatoon came by and received their van in Yorkton, and away they went, and they're still using it today. So that's, you know, awesome. just by, you know, connecting people and partnerships that way, it's things you wouldn't even see as something that we would normally do, but you make the connections, and you know, people have been helped at Ronald McDonald House for years because of that. Well, making those connections, I think, really is the important part when you talk about trying to grow something like this or sustain something like this. And to be honest, this is kind of along the same lines, and it's something that I've been wondering as you're talking, so I think it's a good time to bring it up, is that one of the challenges right now for a lot of charities, and especially since, you know, 3 years ago when the world kind of shut down and we're still trying to figure out ways to get back into the groove of everything, is like volunteerism. We saw a huge spike down. We still see a huge spike down. That's one of the main needs that charities are seeking, is trying to get volunteers either that left and just haven't come back, or trying to get new people into the groove of it. So you kind of mentioned a lot of these partnerships, connections that you have. Did you have any challenges kind of keeping people engaged in the last couple of years, or did you kind of feel like it was a little bit maybe? I mean, we went remote, you know, or
remote or whatever you'd call it for the couple of years during the pandemic, and it was a bit of a challenge, but still, people took part. They sent in their pictures, so it was all virtual and online. Still raised some decent money, but a lot of them were really willing to come back and really excited to come back. But having that core group of volunteers that we have had, they're just kind of waiting and ready to repeat. And then you get a few new ones every year that will come out and help. Yeah. So because we're not a huge organization, it hasn't been as difficult. Sometimes on the participant side, like I said, it really ebbs and flows. But it just seems to work out really well every year. There's a different initiative that raises significant funds and draws some attention and tells our story. And now we're able to, like with the charity charger, tell a bit more of the story about the Cancer Foundation of Saskatchewan, because a lot of people don't really understand what they do or what they're about. So this is giving us a great opportunity to talk about them, but also to promote these philanthropists that offered like this car with that project to us, to talk more about them. They don't really look for the attention, but I just personally believe that anybody willing to go out of their way and do that much for organizations needs a little bit of a spotlight on them as well. So even if they don't want it, we're going to give it to them.
Yeah. Well, the one thing that I've noticed too, because I'm one of those people, like when I give, I don't like to make it very known. But one thing that has become apparent to me kind of working in this world of, with donors and philanthropy is that there is a selfless nature of letting it be known that sometimes is hard to come through, which is like when people know you're doing that, it can also inspire someone else to do it. So it can make a wave. Whereas if you do all this stuff and nobody knows about it, then nobody knows that they can also do it. So that's one of the kind of the double-edged sword of like you want to be humble, and I think the intentions are often there, but sometimes like just let enough of it in that other people can try to feed off of that energy.
Even the human nature of competitiveness too, because I mean, a lot of corporations, they want to do something big in the community or do something meaningful in the community, and when they find out somebody else is either with an organization, they might want to compete, or it draws attention. They didn't realize that organization was there. Hey, we want to be part of it.
That's exactly
as well.
Right.
Like with Tim Hortons, they've been a great local initiative sponsor over the last, I think it's 6-7 years now. We just got the check from them for the Smile Cookie campaign of like $16,400 in Yorkton. So I mean, that goes a long way to help cancer patients at the local level as well. So it's, it just kind of brings more awareness and notoriety, I guess. And quite often they're not really looking for the attention, but it just kind of builds up momentum and gets more people involved. It works very well.
I mean, you're obviously very involved in Yorkton. I know, like both work and personal life. Having this running for that 26 years, have you noticed it have any sort of impact on the culture of Yorkton itself, like bringing the community together?
It does. There's it crosses any kind of, I guess, social and political lines for the most part, and you get a lot of different people that get involved with it, which is great. And it's interesting because there are those people that look forward to it every year. Hey, what are you doing this year? Hey, I've got this idea, or do you want to come to my business and do a barbecue, or things like that. So it's like I said, just gets a life and a personality of its own, and we try not to say no to anything. And even now, like there's a couple barbecues we just, because of family and other commitments, we can't attend, and the people say, just get us all set up and we'll do it. We'll look after it, and we'll just give you the funds. So it's that's pretty heartwarming. We don't have to do the sweat equity, but you still your organization gets the benefits. So
and again, that's part of that momentum, as you said. People just they genuinely want to be part of it, no matter what, right? So, on that note, I'm just curious because even you coming here today, you kind of mentioned that after going, it seems like you're scheduling a lot of things very tightly to make sure you can get. You were here last week. You're here today. You're staying here in Regina to get. Was it to Weyburn tomorrow?
Weyburn tomorrow.
Yeah. So what does your schedule look like as far as like how many events and like public kind of appearances, for lack of a better term, are you doing throughout a year when it comes to
I don't know the total number, but it can be pretty pretty stacked back to back. But I tend to just, my calendar, I will just schedule things that I know is doable, and or like my staff will know is doable, and then I just go one to one, and then kind of look a couple days ahead and do them. But I've always been a fairly energetic person, I guess. Even when I went through my own cancer journey in 16, 17, I was diagnosed with colorectal cancer, which was interesting. It was our 20th anniversary of Close Cuts. So we're amping up to do this big event. Well, I took part, but I was in ICU on my FaceTime. So I actually did my media interviews with my FaceTime, and I still wanted to take part, and had my head shaved and stuff already. But But yeah, it's just amazing how things happen and how you can actually fit it in if you really want to and prioritize it. But yeah, it does take a little bit of scheduling. I came here, I had 15 minutes lead time from York, so that was fine. But it can be a challenge. But yeah, I think, you know, again, by the grace of God, Leon and I have a pretty strong faith, and I think that's one reason we've had a pretty good successful run in this as well. And even starting out, I remember one of the first conversations Leon and I had, we were in the hospital, we weren't quite sure what was going on with Braden at the time. But the two things we talked about was, you know, obviously something was quite wrong with him, and we, without knowing the specific statistics, but we knew in the case of a serious family emergency or issue like that, or a sick child, you know, for example, the cases of divorce go up exponentially. And then if you look at especially the loss of a child, it's astronomical, like the breakup of family that can happen. So the two things we talked about, and it's more her wisdom, I think, was no matter what happens, we've got to make sure our family stays together. And I've heard it said quite often in different ways since, but I've never heard it before. She said, bitter or better, we have to choose the vowel. And it truly is a choice. Like, you can curl up in a ball, and sometimes, you know, for us, you're, you know, a bit beat up and tired, and maybe a bit emotional over you know, what your family's been through, and it'd be easier to quit and be bitter. But for the most part, we try and pick the other and be better and make something better from it. And I think in that respect, for the grieving process, if you've gone through a difficult situation, if you can actually make some good come from it, not that it makes sense, but it maybe makes a bit more sense. And you know, it makes you feel somewhat better about what your loved one or maybe you're going through, and you know, that philosophy for the most part has helped us, I think. But
no, that's fantastic. That's great, and that's some great advice to end it on as well. And I just really want to thank you for coming on and sharing this story, and I really hope it inspires others to realize that they can make a big impact in their community as well. So thank you.
I sure appreciate the offer to come, Victor, and it's anytime.
Thanks for tuning in today. If you'd like to learn more about how you can make an impact in your own community, visit the South Sask Community Foundation online at sscf.ca, or search for us on our social media channels on YouTube, Facebook, LinkedIn, and Twitter.
If you'd like to share your feedback on the program you just watched, contact us today